This is Sam Ryan Hidari, the host of the Sex Lies and Lawyers. We are here for another episode, and we have Miss Drina Fritz, writer of The End Suicide and Homicide and the Harm in Between. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, Sam. I'm glad to be here. I would like to start with you and ask you if you have any children or are you a parent or
Yeah, I'm a parent. I have a almost 4-year-old son and a 9-month-old daughter.
perfect.
Yeah.
That's the time to start this, although you wouldn't believe it, but it's really true. And I found out, and it was easy to train a 2-year-old how not to hurt others and how not to hurt himself.
Oh, that's a good thing
Right.
to teach me.
All you have to do is be a parent of an adult and you've been treated really badly and let's say you've been beaten as a child and then you grow up and you kind of get very angry with your child and it's hard to stop yourself from beating them. So I have things in here like there's damaging spankings and there are learning spankings.
Learning Spain, they're different.
Now, learning spankings get their attention, but they absolutely don't cause any pain. And so they listen while you tell them what to do, while you are actually spanking them before the point of pain, always before the point of pain. Then they're listening and they're wondering, what are you going to do next? What are you going to do next?
What's your background?
I am. Started out as a school psychologist, and I worked for 32 years there. But then when I got my private practice, I got my doctorate too, and I worked for 25 years in private practice with
In California or Nevada?
in California
Okay.
with mothers, fathers, families, individuals, and then I was constantly sent suicidal kids, high school kids. I'll just tell you really quickly the one that makes me almost cry. I mean, it made me cry a lot before, but she was very sad, and she took to the counseling, but 2 months later, her counselor told me that she shot herself, that she killed herself. And I said, what happened? And she said, well, she asked to see you, but she couldn't see you because you were testing students. So she asked teacher aide. She said, I know it's not right to hurt other people, but what I do with myself is my own business, isn't it? And the person said, yeah, what you do with yourself is your own business. And that's the night she went home and killed herself.
Who said that to her?
Teacher aide. A teacher aide, her teacher aide. That's what I was
Wow,
told.
that's sad.
Exactly, and that's why I
What
wanna
year
treat-
was it?
Oh, rather than going that way, can I go another way?
Oh, wow, yeah. Okay.
Can we? That's why this book is for the parents, for the teachers, so that they can reach out. Because I can't reach out to a million people. I can only reach out to a certain number of people, and they can reach out to everybody they know. If they can learn the three principles, and that's about all you really need, are 3 principles for living well. 2 actually are 2 rules, and the other isn't a rule, the other is a suggestion. I had it trademarked by an attorney here in town. It's called offensiveless defense. So can you imagine what that might mean?
No, you explain.
So-
You got me on this one. I don't know what it means.
Well, so offensiveless defense means that you take care of a situation when somebody is coming at you without hurting them back. Because when you start to hurt them back, then they get really mad and they get stronger and they really want to hurt you. At least the adults. The younger ones wouldn't. But the idea is you raise your children with the idea of not harming them, never going into pain. But can I touch your hand, yours? If you go in about like that, I know that it's hard, but it's
It's
not
not
too
hurting.
hard. Right. And I could go a little harder, and I think a little harder, and a little
Yeah, it
more,
hurts,
and then
and
it would
pinching,
hurt.
yeah.
And then it would hurt. And if you stay back off, because we know the difference, you're going to have success with your young ones. And if you start when they're lap age, and you just, well, rather than tell you about that, do you have any questions at this point?
That you trademark it actually that
Offensive.
method offensive
Offensiveless
offensive less
Less
defense.
defense. Yes.
And it's a method for what exactly?
Defending yourself, stopping. I'll give you a couple of examples. Okay. I'll give my easy example because it was my own son who is an adult now. And we were, we were in a city where a lot of the family is there, and they start to go back and they tease and they tease. And by the way, uh, one of the most famous old olden days psychiatrists, Haim Ganat, said teasing is not a good way to talk to children. So cut out teasing if you can too, because that's harmful. That's the minor harm and the harm in between. But you do that, and then somebody wants to tease you worse and tease you worse and tease you
What do you
worse.
mean by teasing is not a good way?
Uh, Not a good
Give an
way.
example.
Uh, think of something that's teasing. Can you think of anything, David?
Teasing?
Yeah, teasing anybody, either physically, like taking their hat and teasing them. You know, that would be teasing,
Well,
wouldn't
like what my middle one does, like, trying to instigate with their facial
it?
gestures.
Oh yeah, so they make
Like-
nasty faces to the other
Yeah.
children,
hmm
to the other
Yeah,
child?
to the other kids.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's kind of teasing too, and um, let's see. Let's do the hat one, okay, at first. So what you do is you think of what to say without hurting them. So in that case, I would say, "You're taking my hat." Okay, so what does the kid say? Be him.
No, I'm not taking your hat. I don't know.
Okay, so let's do a more common one. Let's just do a hypothetical. They're teasing you verbally, okay? And you would just tell them what they're doing. You're, you're mocking me.
Yeah, they say that all the time. And say, don't do it, don't do it. Or you are talking to them and say, don't talk to me, don't do it. And
Yeah.
saying you should not do it, don't. They always do that. The kids,
Are you talking about the one who's the teaser or the one who's the victim?
the victim.
Yeah, the victim says, don't do it. That isn't enough. It just won't get through as well. You tell them what they're doing. It's like when your child is crawling around the floor and you don't know what to say or anything. And a lot of times parents just want to tell them, don't do this, do this. Do. No, just tell them what they're doing. You're touching a book now. You know, teach them words, teach them that language. You're
You're saying
climbing on the wall.
you're saying don't be negative. Use more positive
Yeah,
words.
Just tell them
Positive
what they're
words,
doing.
yeah.
Yeah. Do the language.
Try
that
to
you're trying
distract
do.
them to do something else in a
Right,
positive way
yeah.
instead of the banning them or prohibiting them to
And,
say that.
and yet you do want not to be step-toed on or foot booted on or bad. So let's say a child is taking a crayon and they're crayon and then they go over to the wall. You go, wait. You don't say no. In my book, you say no only in two things, only two rules, and we'll talk about those two rules. You don't say no, you say, wait. Walls are not for writing. Come here, let's come over here.
Right
or
here.
Stuff like that.
Give them alternative route actually to
Right,
choose.
exactly.
What are those two that you say the no? You have to say no. What are those?
Okay, I'll give it up. Don't let the child get away with hurting themselves, minorly or majorly. We'll start with that number one. I can give you adult examples. Like let's say you're riding down the street and my favorite example is when you make a wrong turn and you're really angry and you're late and you might say, stupid. Who are you talking to? You're the only one in the car. Who are you talking to?
Yourself.
That's right. And when you talk to yourself that way, you are harming you because your brain wants to make real what you're doing. Just like a friend gives you a cigarette and you say, well, I don't want to smoke that. No, go ahead and smoke it. So you smoke it because you want to please them. And 3 months later, you're getting a cigarette in your mouth without even remembering when you took it out because you took on something that you didn't realize would be something to say no, because if you take that rule of not hurting yourself, you would say, geez, I heard it's not good to smoke cigarettes, so that's a no. I'll just do all the good things that aren't hurting myself. So
That's a no that you said earlier. That's the two things that you should say no.
no. You say no whenever they're hurting themselves. You have to figure out, is what they're doing going to harm them, or isn't it? If it's going to hurt them, no. And then you explain why not.
So it's the only time you would say no. It's when they're about to hurt themselves.
That's rule one.
Okay.
Rule two
Physically
is
harming themselves, physically.
physically or psychologically, like you say, stupid when you make a wrong turn. Instead, you start to learn self-talk, like, wait a minute, Sam, you're not stupid. Turn around, just get back on track. It's all right.
It means that the kid is saying, I'm stupid or something. You have to say, don't say it. That's
Say,
the time.
no, you're not stupid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's the time. And
That's
also
the
when
time.
they are just physically harming themselves or hitting their head against the wall or something.
Exactly. To the point of pain. You know,
Point
don't,
of
you know, be
pain.
gentle, you can say. That's a preference, but that's not a rule.
So when a child basically is extreme, whether it's to themselves psychologically or physically, that's when you would use the word no. But other times, whether it's a young child or a child that's older, you don't want to use the word no because it's very negative. It's only good the word when
Not
you,
because it's negative. It's much deeper than that. Let me give you an example of
Yeah.
what I mean. I think that it's a very good suggestion not to take things that don't belong to you. We call that stealing, don't we? I don't call that a rule. I call that a strong suggestion because people who love you won't trust you anymore because this, because of that, because you might end up in jail, because there are better routes to go than stealing. As a matter of fact, for example, what about asking for something? What teach them that when they're young, how to ask properly. What about borrowing something? What about, and then you go through things. What about earning it when they get to that age? How about to earn that? So that they get the idea as young as possible and try to catch them when the first time they take something that doesn't belong to them. And don't use the word stealing. I just did that for effect here. No, no, I'm sorry. I goofed. I goofed. Sam, you're taking something that doesn't belong to you. How come you did that? I want it. So let's figure out how you can get it. You can.
yeah,
Okay.
you could
so
borrow and make money,
Yeah,
make money to
yeah,
buy something.
yeah.
To explain it more, to be more detailed.
Yes,
More detail.
yes. Yeah, okay, so that's no for what? What's the litmus test? Is this hurting me or hurting me? Is this hurting me psychologically or physically? That's no. The other one, the other rule number 2, the same thing, but the opposite in that it's take a rule not to hurt somebody else.
You have to say no at that time.
No, at that time, not to hurt them physically, not to hurt them psychologically. And then you come in strong, but you don't come in with hitting them unless it's the 20th time they did it or the 5th time they did it. And then you might take a belt. This works really well. You take a belt. I did this once on one student who was sent to a principal's office. And I said, oh, I'll take care of it. Let me have that paddle. Actually, it was a belt. And I hit the bed really, really hard, made a lot of noise. And I had my arm very lightly around him. And I said, now look, this is what the teacher probably would like to do to you, or the principal was going to do to you, because you
Or hurting someone.
are, no, in this case, you're interrupting me for doing my work. You're bullying other kids. You're just making problems with the other kids, and no, don't hurt them. And he never got sent back to the principal again. So it took, because there's something about. Let me show one of you.
You could hurt him.
The kind of this is a learning spanking. See what I mean? Never goes for pain.
It never hurts.
But it certainly gets their attention. doesn't it?
Attention. That.
Yeah.
So do you believe that all these things is that where it leads to, like the children, if they're hurt, well, I would say people that have parents using the belt or hitting the kid for discipline, is that what leads to children's suicide these days?
Okay, this is what I believe, is you pick up harming others, usually like a common cold. You watch other people harming others and you pick it up, like that. Do I believe that? Well, here's what I believe. You can put a child on your lap like I did my son, and I was shocked at what happened that day, and I'll tell you what happened that day. And then the child gets older, and they're in elementary school, and they're in high school, And what happens is pretty soon you've got a different kind of a person because you've never taught them when they're this age. It took me less than 5 minutes to teach my 2.5-year-old son to take a rule not to hurt himself. And can I show you? Okay. Sits on my lap, and all of a sudden, oh, wait. First, I taught him not to hurt other people. This was included because I think these two are intrinsically tied together, and that's why I'm passionate about this book, because it contains both suicide and homicide, and not all that sadness that the suicide books seem to have, like, my friend committed suicide and I'm so sad, and now the book will tell me how to not be sad anymore. Well, let's get it before they do that so they never commit suicide. Okay, so here he is, and all of a sudden he goes to me. So do I laugh? No. Do I yell at him? No. I just take his hand like I showed you, and I say, no. And then I say, hit here instead, and I grab a pillow. And that's what he did. He hit it. He hit it for about 30 seconds. Now, his language wasn't all that great at that point. But when he was finished, I want you to quickly give me the quickest answer you can give me, both of you or one of you. What did he do next, do you think?
What?
I don't know.
I don't know.
To himself.
Self-inflicting.
To himself, okay? So first was reaching out and hurting
Who
others.
hitting you,
And
actually? Then
yeah, he hit me the first time. This is the second time when he hit himself in the picture here. So that's what happened then. So he did that. So what do you think I did? No laughing, because then it means, guess what it turns out to mean? Oh, it's okay if I hurt myself. No, don't hurt other people, but it's okay, because it's funny. No, it is not. You take their hand the same way, and you just go hit here instead. And he did. He turned around and he, for about 30 seconds, and then he got off my lap and played for the rest of the day. End of story. He took those roles, except for the one thing with the not hurting other people. He thought that bad people should be hurt. And I personally don't think that is
correct.
Yeah. I think that they should, as a matter of fact, in this thing, if you're 25 years old and you refuse to take a rule not to hurt yourself and a rule not to hurt somebody else, I believe it would be good if you went to a very humane jail and you stayed there for the rest of your life, or until you at least could take those rules.
I got a question for Sam. What are your thoughts? Because we're talking about suicide and homicide. They say that during COVID 2 years, people were stuck in their homes, that more people suffer from mental illness, and now people became suicidal because they were home. And now that things have opened up, that there's a lot more people in the street with mental health issues. What's your thoughts of that? From being an attorney, what's your perspective?
There are a lot of aspects to it. One of the problems that we already have, the people, they don't want to work on the premises anymore. I had an attorney that used to work before the pandemic, and during the pandemic, he came back actually after the 6 month or 7 month. He looked he gained so much weight, and he was wearing a mask. He was getting so completely out of shape, and he was not like that. And he didn't want to come to the office anymore to work, and
Fear.
it was fear, and it affected him in a way that he almost lost the job.
Yeah.
And we
I
couldn't rely on him because
understand
he was
because,
just wearing a mask and gloves, everything, coming to work.
Yeah.
And I said, some people said, "Are you a special need or something that we gotta come?" And say, "No, I'm afraid of COVID." I said, "Why?" It was to the extreme that and still there are some people they are still afraid of the situation.
That's true.
And have phobia of the germs right now, that they became worse, some of them.
Okay, that's why I wrote chapter, or whatever it's called, getting rid of, here, I'll read it to you the way it is. Getting rid of negative emotions.
We have to send him this book.
We have to, because he never came back to the office.
Never came back.
Oh, gosh.
He never came back to the office. Yep.
Oh, my goodness.
And I don't know what he's doing.
Well, I think the book might help him if he reads it. I am doing some webinars, and something like, if I may have a copy of this, either raw
Yeah, absolutely.
or whatever. Yeah.
While she looks up the chapter, I know that your law firm deals with a lot of people that they call for because of the vaccine, and they think that the vaccine hurt them in different ways. Do you believe that the vaccine can cause mental health issues?
Not the mental health issues. Some people are obsessed with it to get the vaccine. Even still, they're going to get the vaccine. I'm not against vaccine. I got it myself, but I got COVID too before the vaccine coming out. I was in a bad shape. I was almost dying for a month before the vaccine. But
Wow.
some people, they were just calling that they are complaining that they don't want to get it or they didn't want to get it and they got it and they got injured. And you cannot say that there is no injury as a result of the vaccine. It's a side effect of the vaccine. It triggers and reacts. People react differently to the vaccine that they got, and you don't know. It's real. It's not lie to say that no, you don't get injured by the vaccine. No, you get injured, but it depends on the body. But it's a balancing the harm of the society versus the side effects that some people get. All the vaccines they have side effects, and always it has been around that way. But this one, it was an untested vaccine. I got it. I didn't have any problem. Possibly someone else got it and it got the stroke. And they said, John, those brands are going to make causing a stroke or something. But that's the thing you cannot say. But there is a remedy for it. That's a vaccine card that people go through it always, and they just get compensated for it. That's a way to
Do they
get.
get compensated from the vaccine company, the drug companies?
Yeah, not
Yeah,
the
but
drug
the
company.
ones
There
that
is a government
died,
fund
the
and it's a
ones that
vaccine
died,
court,
though,
specifically
yeah.
in the District of Columbia, DC, that deals with the vaccine injuries because all of them they are immune from
Liability?
liability, and it should go through the specific fund that is out there by the federal government that they can get compensated by that vaccine actually fund.
Good information.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, the title is Clear Out Past and Current Negative Emotions to Recover Rational, Flexible Thinking and to Feel Relaxed and Loving. Because if you have no negative emotions in you, there's only about 5 negative emotions, really, but Shakespeare would tell you otherwise and give you all kinds of words. But the truth of it is if you looked at a continuum, let's say what happens when somebody uh, wants to kill themselves because they're very sad. It can be a continuum from it starts out light sad, let's say that's number 1, disappointed from this and disappointed, and it goes up on a continuum from 1 to 10 being the worst, and that's like the worst grief you can have. You know, the people that you love most are, let's say, killed in an accident. It's not a suicide, but it's an accident.
Yeah, makes sense.
And you're very, very sad and lonely, and that would be it. So if you got rid of grief, along with getting rid of fear, along with getting rid of anger, which is a different peptide in your body that goes from 0, well, none, to 10. If you got rid of those emotions, and there's a couple more, pain, physical pain, of course, is painful, and there's boredom and tension.
Tension.
Uh-huh. Those are the emotions.
That's great.
By the way, I
What?
just want to read the back of the book. It says it actually has that offensiveless defense, your system to interrupt aggression and violence. So the book is a blueprint for ending suicide, homicides, and physical and psychological harm in between. Roadmap for you to stop yourself, students, children, acquaintances, and friends from acting out. Thinking about suicide, homicide precedes acting out. Through the use of 2 rules and offensiveless defense, you'll be able to transform negative ideation into desirable, safe outcomes. So it sounds like a very great book to give to, especially teachers, right?
Oh, yeah.
Teachers in the school district,
And parents, too.
parents as well.
And- yeah.
Okay, that's great.
Thank you.
That's great.
Where can you, by the way, where can you find the book? Can you buy it online? How can you find
It's
it?
on Amazon.
On Amazon? Okay.
and
End
Kindle.
suicide and homicide and the harm in between, Drina Freed.
Thank you for coming. Anything else you want to add for the listeners?
No, if anybody had any questions, that would be,
How can they reach you? What's the best way?
well, I have right up here in the corner, if you buy the book, it says free gift, bonus gift, www.freegiftfromdrina, and it's DRINA.com. And they can ask me question on there too, as well as get a free video, a different video than today.
Thank you for coming in today. It was a pleasure and having
Pleasure
you on
meeting
the.
you, too.
Thank you.